All right, Tuesday night, Raj is in the house on the Pig and a Pickle Krueg show. We got a lot to get to. Let's go. Off and running Tuesday night. Hope everybody's having a great time today. It is welcome to July. Unbelievably, June is gone. July 1st is here. The heat from around the country. It's actually pretty mild in the Bay Area right now, but this is the hot time of year for sure. Big heat wave on the East Coast and the Midwest, throughout the South. So if you are battling the heat, try to stay cool. But welcome to the Krueg Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. That's right, we are live. Welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show. And as I said, it's 8:48 West Coast, 11:48 East Coast. And we're on with the great Raj from RSF 49ers, like we always are on Tuesday nights. And if you're watching us live on YouTube, do us a favor, smash the like button, hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell, have that turned on as well, so you never have to miss a show. And remember, once the live stream wraps up, you can catch a full replay anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever. Whatever your favorite platform is, just search The Krueg Show, and you'll find us. We've got a lot to get to today, so we'll jump right in. But we are brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. Raj, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, too. It's been a minute. If you would have asked me that a week ago, I would have told you not doing so hot. But I'm doing okay today. We're back. We're better than ever. I've been dealing with some health stuff, but like I said, we're good to go, and I'm happy to be back.
Well, dude, we're always happy to wrap Niners with you. Some of our streams are some of the best stuff that we do on this channel on Tuesday nights, and let's just get right into it. One of the interviews that's out right now is Bryce Huff stopped by and with Brad on his channel and talked a little bit about Mykel Williams. And it's funny, Brad, here's the Coach Yak. We're sharing Coach Yak's Twitter here because Coach Yak is the one who put it out there. Bryce Huff and Mykel Williams. He's a unit. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw him training this morning, and I said, yeah, he's going to wreak some havoc in this front for sure. Bryce said several of the 49er players have stayed at the facility during the break to train together. So that's a good sign. I always, players know players, Raj, and, I could have a million Niner representatives tell me Mykel Williams looks good, but I'll take Bryce Huff's word for it over all of them.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited for this new defensive line. Like that, to me, is probably one of the best things of this offseason is, they brought in Mykel Williams. They brought in C.J. West. They brought in Huff. They brought in all these big guys to help out Nick Bosa. So I'm intrigued. We got Big Bob, Robert Saleh there, and, I'm sure everybody's excited. And it's good. They're staying back to train together. It's a good sign. And we got about a couple more weeks till training camp, and I feel like everything's starting to gel. And if all these guys can hit their stride, it's going to be a very good defensive line. Because last year, we talked about it almost every week, and D-line wasn't getting to the quarterback enough. But I feel like there's just so much potential, and it's good to hear Bryce saying good things about Mykel because a lot of people have been up and down on this draft pick. But I'm excited. I can't wait for training camp to see these guys, getting it down and just showing what they got.
Bryce Huff also says he's ready for another big season under Big Bob Saleh. He says, I already saw the blueprint. Being in New York with this scheme for 3 years and seeing how they utilize each person's body type to make them play their best, I already see how it's about to go down this year. Huff said it feels like being back home now that he's back in the wide nine, which is great to hear. I think just from the fact that it sounds like Huff is sticking around in June to kind of work with Bosa and get ready for camp, and since it's a new defense, or it's a defensive front he's familiar with, but it's a new team. I think that's a good sign for sure. Yeah. And then one last one from Bryce Huff. He says, I know come week one, we're going to be dialed in, and I'm extremely excited to work with Nick Bosa. Yeah. So, I'm still a little concerned about the Niners' ability to rush the passer. That probably is my biggest concern. And if they, there was a report earlier this week that the Browns cut Ogbo Okoro, and if I could get him, I would be interested. He played in the wide nine. He was pretty good. They cut him because he had a $6 million cap balloon payment headed his way in August. They didn't want to pay it, so it's more of a cap casualty than anything else. But Okoro, won a Super Bowl with the Rams. He was in this scheme last year for Jim Schwartz in the wide nine. And you know what? I like Beal. I like the potential of Beal and Teron Jackson. But you know what? The one thing I've seen is that when you get to training camp, potential means nothing at this position. And it's really you get guys who can get it done and then guys who just can't. And it's a technique-rich deal. And I expect Bryce Huff to be great. But I'm also expecting Robert Beal and some of those other guys to be, I don't want to say zeros, but I'm not expecting a whole lot. And if I could get an Ogbo Okoro who has experience in the wide nine, if I could get him at a cheap price, I would definitely do it. What do you think of Okoro, the idea of adding, another edge rusher?
I wouldn't hate it. I mean, if he's the guy, for sure. I think they do need more depth. Like I said, we're excited about the potential of Mykel Williams, but he is a rookie. Bryce Huff, I think he's going to translate because he's played well in this defensive system with the Jets. So that I think he's going to be a big part. But yeah, other than that, and Sam O maybe. Outside of that, I can't really tell you I'm too excited about some of these edge rushers. Especially Robert Beal. I feel like he just hasn't hit that stride. I don't think he ever will. He has the potential, but he just doesn't look like he's going to be that type of guy. So yeah, go get us another edge rusher. We need depth because at the end of the day, injuries do happen, and you never know what's going to happen down the line in 6, 7, 8 weeks down the season. So, yeah, getting some depth would be smart. And again, some of these guys outside of who we just mentioned that are going to be the mainstays on that D-line, they don't really frighten me. And if they don't frighten me, they ain't frightening these other teams and, that we got to play against. So getting depth right now wouldn't hurt. Again, we'll see how training camp goes. Maybe Robert Beal will have a breakout, but I can't really expect that. And then there's a couple other guys like Alex Barrett. Like, I just don't think those guys have enough juice to even make the roster. So, yeah, go get some depth because you absolutely need it. Last year, what was our issue is we didn't have quality depth. Injuries just took over this team, and then you had nobody to plug and play. So make your team as strong as it can, fortify the depth. Absolutely.
Did the Niners even have a sack in the last month of the year? I don't think they did.
I doubt it.
They just didn't. They couldn't. And that's the bottom line. If you can't speed up a quarterback, if you can't move a quarterback off his spot, it's going to be a long day. Doesn't matter if he's a great quarterback, a Hall of Famer, if the guy's won Super Bowls or not. Every quarterback in the NFL, if they can sit back there, survey the field calmly and quietly and without interruption, they're going to pick you apart. And the Niners lost to some pretty mediocre quarterbacks in the second half of the year, including Geno Smith at home. So, yeah, I like, people. I read an article today of some, I think it was in Niners Nation or some Niners Noise, or somebody was touting Jonathan Garvin. And I'm like, Jesus, my God. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, now we're touting the last guy on the roster. I mean, this guy literally is like the first guy cut. Jonathan Garvin. I mean, the defensive ends, Niners have Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, Yatir Gross-Matos, Bryce Huff, Robert Beal, Sam Aquinu, Teron Jackson. They've got 7 defensive ends and then Jonathan Garvin. And yet somebody was talking up Garvin today. So, Garvin, I don't have much confidence in. Beal, the same. Teron Jackson, I only have marginally more. And if I could find an Okoro, man, I would do it. There was a great article in Niners Web Zone today written by a guy named Jack Stewart, who I don't know, but it's basically taking a look at everybody who's in their walk year and just asking the question, should the Niners extend these players? And we've seen the Niners, they've extended in the past George Kittle, Debo, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy this year. And then they also said goodbye to some guys, including Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga and Mooney Ward. So this is a contract year for several Niner players. So I'm just going to run down the list, and I'll throw the name out, and you say extend him now, extend him later, or don't extend him. Okay, those will be your three choices.
And now, later, none.
Yeah, extend him right now, like going into training camp. Extend him potentially before he hits free agency, or don't extend him and just let him hit free agency, and we'll play our hand the way it goes. So here's the list. The first guy on the list is Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings has been a great bargain. 7th round pick in the 2020 draft. Niners paid him over the last 5 seasons just $10.5 million. This year he's in the second of a 2-year extension. He'll make a little bit over $4 million. He had 975 yards. Could have had 1,000 last year if he didn't get ejected in the Cardinal game. And he finished with more yards than DJ Moore, who's making $27.5 million a year. He's making the same as DK Metcalf, who just signed he had more yards than DJ Moore, and he's roughly the same number of yards as DK Metcalf, who just signed with Pittsburgh for $30 million a year. So what do you think? Do you want to, JJ doesn't run particularly well. What do you think? Do you want to offer Jawan Jennings an extension? Do you want to wait until some point later in the year, dangle the carrot, or do you want to just, wait altogether and let it play out?
I think Jennings deserves a contract right now. This guy's been such a hard worker. He came up from, being a 7th round pick, got cut in his first year because he tore his hamstring, and then he's worked his way up to almost 1,000-yard receiver. Now, I know he's not the flashiest. Like you said, he's not the best, speed guy. He's not going to go out there and run the route tree, but he's a damn good worker. He does everything, all the intangibles. He does the dirty work. This guy's kind of a captain of this team. And he, despite all those, flaws that you want to say as him as a receiver, he's gotten better every year. I feel like he deserves the money. And if if he has a season anywhere near last year or even better, they're not going to be able to afford him. I think he is a good player. I think you extend him now, get it done, lock him up a little bit. He's been a bargain. And I know a lot of people last year were saying he was the guy that deserved the contract over Brandon Ayuk. So I feel like you should pay him because he's been such a big-time player for this team. Third and Jawan, right? When you need a clutch pass on third down, who do you throw it to? It's Jawan Jennings. He's like the number one guy on those big plays. Touchdown, critical, big play. I mean, he had a big breakout season last year. The Rams game, 3 touchdowns, right? Ayuk got shelved, and everybody's like, oh, no, we don't have a receiver. And Brandon or Jawan Jennings came out and was like, you don't have a number one receiver? I'm that guy. And he's proven himself, right? And he said this offseason, he wants to be the top guy. The offensive coordinator said, this is our top guy. Like, this guy is, the perfect example of hard work. Going to get you somewhere, just like Brock Purdy. So if it's up to me, I'm extending him right now. Because if you don't extend him now, Larry, next year he's going to get paid pretty well.
I hear you. He's a culture player. He's a culture player. And it's like, well, if you're watching this and you're saying, well, what does that mean? Well, Raj knows what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. The Niner fans know what I'm talking about. This is a guy who is kind of your leader. I mean, it's weird to say that about a wide receiver, especially a wide receiver that was a 7th round pick who doesn't run all that well.
He's a glorified wide receiver 3, but he doesn't play like it. I get it.
But he is their leader. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's one of the toughest guys in the room. Yeah. Now, DJ Moore makes $27.5 a year. DK Metcalf is making $30 a year. We can't go there. We can't go there. But I would say, what do you think of this? What do you think of a 2-year, $25 million offer? So it's $12.5 a year, or maybe 12 in the first year, 13 in the second year. But $25 million for 2 years. Get him some guaranteed dollars. Take care of him, but also lock him in. He's just not a $25 million player. He's just not. And I don't even think he's a $20 million player. I don't even want to pay him $15 million a year, really. Not at this age. I would say, how about this? How about 2 years, $25 million with a gigantic chunk of that guaranteed, and see if you can sign him for the next 2 years at $12.5 per year AAV. What do you think? Do you think he might be open-minded to that?
I think so. I mean, that's a steal, honestly. If I you look at the wide receiver market, like you look at this wide receiver market, like a couple years back when it broke, when Christian Kirk signed that nasty contract, which pretty much broke open the wide receiver market. It's like he could probably, if he waits, if he plays his cards right and he has another season like last year with BA, probably not coming back to midseason, there's potential for him to have that 1,000-yard season. And if he does, back-to-back seasons of pretty much 1,000 yards. We're going to say last year was 1,000. It was, an asterisk by that. But that's probably on another team. They're going to pay him more than 12.5. So if we could lock him in for that much, I honestly feel like that's a steal. And again, he does more than just go out there and catch like the ball, which he's a very reliable pass catcher, but he could do so much blocking. He's a selfless player. Like, he's not a selfish guy that's me, like most wide receivers. I mean, that could definitely change down the line. But honestly, if we can give him that contract and lock him up for 2 more years, I'd be happy. But if he decides to pass on it and bet on himself and get more money, I'd be happy for Jawan Jennings because he's worked his ass off over the years. So I'd lock him up myself for now. I get it.
I would too. But I mean, it's all about the price. It's all about the number. I would try to lock him up now. But if he wants going rate, if he really wants to make Jaylen, if he really wants to make, the kind of money that, 25 million, north of 20 million, I would just say, Jawan, hey, you know what? I love you. I want the best for you. Good luck getting that somewhere else. But I would say, hey, I got $25 million for the next 2 years with a big chunk guaranteed, earmarked for you if you want it. If you don't, because you can get 15 a year somewhere else. But I just don't know. We're in such a, such a world where everything's, so many guys are judged by their like speed, and this guy's so slow. And everybody has that 4.7, time on him. It's not like, oh, well, no, it was wrong. No, it's not wrong. He's slow. But, and the Niners know his value better than these other teams. I just kind of wonder, is there going to be a team out there, maybe somebody who used to be with the Niners, maybe Houston or something, but they're loaded at receiver. I just can't see anybody offering him $15 million a year. I just really can't. But I would offer him 12.5 for 2 and see if it happens. And I think it's important to get him signed. All right, let's go to Colton McKivitz. He's the starter at right tackle. The Niners let Mike McGlinchey walk away in free agency a few years ago. McGlinchey got paid. They instead went with McKivitz at right tackle. And McKivitz has played pretty well. I mean, he's not great. He's 52nd out of 66 in PFF pass rush win rate, or pass blocking win rate, I should say. So, the Niners just let Aaron Banks and Jaylen Moore walk out. Jaylen Moore, by the way, is like the 9th highest paid offensive lineman in the entire sport. How about that? And he wasn't even a starter for the Niners. He was the backup to McKivitz and Trent Williams, and he got broken off by the Chiefs for $30 million. It's just really amazing. I got to think that McKivitz is going to command more. He's put on some good weight. He definitely looks good right now. He's strong. This is the best I've seen him look as far as his overall stature and strength. I think my answer may surprise you on this one. I would extend McKivitz, and the reason for it is because Trent's could retire at any point. He could retire at the end of the year. Then you're staring at potentially having to replace 2 offensive tackles. Continuity is important on an offensive line. I just think that I think Trent's only got a year or so left. So the last thing I want to do is go into next offseason needing 2 offensive tackles. So I think a very reasonable 2-year deal. The Niners got him last year on a 1-year, $7 million deal. How about 2 years and $20 million for McKivitz to stay? I would like to see him stay for continuity purposes, but I don't want to offer him anything close to the kind of money that Jaylen Moore got. What do you think? 2 years, $20 million for McKivitz, or do you want to let him walk?
I don't hate it. I get it, because you're right. There's really nobody. If this season ends and you didn't extend him and Trent walks, if he does, I mean, he may or may not. He's kind of said that he could play till he's 41, whatever, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If you're out 2 tackles, you kind of are cooked. So I get the reasoning behind it, but honestly, man, let him walk. If he's going to make some more money somewhere else, cool. Again, he's it's not like he's horrible. There's people on, internet that are going to tell you McKivitz is the worst player of all time. I don't think he's worth the extension. Maybe, you want that money? Prove it to me why you want that money. If he earns that money after the season, great. But I'm not in a rush to extend McKivitz. And I get where everybody's saying where you should because you don't have the depth. Honestly, that's the Niners' lack of putting, emphasis on offensive line. And it's going to hit them in the head. And hopefully next year they realize, like, we really need to prioritize the O-line. So I think they can, next year figure out where they can get some top tier offensive linemen, some tackles, maybe in free agency. Maybe they make a big blockbuster trade. Maybe they go crazy in the draft, but I'm not prioritizing my money on Colton McKivitz because I think you can upgrade. And I get it. There's like people, you don't have depth. That's the Niners' fault for not prioritizing that. But I think next year you can upgrade somehow, some way. I'm not breaking any bank on Colton McKivitz.
I hear you. It's a point of view. You know what I mean? We that's the beauty of you and I streaming. We sometimes agree, we sometimes disagree. That's the beauty of it. So I would say extend Jennings and McKivitz. You would say extend Jennings, but not McKivitz. Yeah, let's get on to the rest of the list. Yetur Gross-Matos currently earns a little bit over $9 million per year. It's not a huge contract. They've added Bryce Huff. They've added Mykel Williams. Gross-Matos is very, very talented. There's no question. He's always been a huge talent going back to Penn State. Would you extend Yetur Gross-Matos now, later, or not at all?
Never. I hope he can stay healthy this year. That was the
never.
Issue. He couldn't even stay on the. I don't know how many games he played last year, but I maybe could count 3 of them that he played. He probably could be one of those underrated players that rises up and helps us this year. But I don't even know if he's going to stay on the field. I think you get rid of him. That's a guy that you can upgrade easily. I think you can upgrade from Yetur Gross-Matos easily next year. So I'm not worried about re-signing Yetur Gross-Matos. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, if Yetur Gross-Matos leaves us next season, it is what it is. I'm not in a rush to extend. I'd rather extend Colton McKivitz than Yetur Gross-Matos, but I'm going to say no to Colton, no to Yetur Gross-Matos. Right now, I'm only extending Jawan Jennings, baby.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Believe me, and there's a lot of Niner fans that are with you. I would say I definitely would not extend Yetur Gross-Matos now. To me, he's always been a guy with unbelievable traits that is always like, hey man, look at the potential for this cat. You know what I mean? He's always been that guy. Look at this guy. He's 6'7", he's athletic, he's strong, he's fast. I would dangle the carrot. There's no way I would extend him, especially as you said, after he barely played last year.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, I'm open-minded. If this guy unlocks the potential that everybody has seen in him for years and years, if this happens to be his bust-out year, I would extend him. But I'm not doing it until after he's, I'll extend this guy in December after he showed me that he really was monster. That's when I'll extend him. Based on what I've seen thus far, hell to the no. But as far as I do respect this guy's talent, and if he does, if Kasarik somehow, Ronnie Blair and the D-line coaches, they somehow unlock Yetur Gross-Matos and he goes off, I would extend him in December. Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Chris Kasarik has gotten a lot of guys like him paid, like Reclamation Project, Kerry Hyder, Arden Key, like there's so many guys. So he could bust out. If he could hit his potential, great. But honestly, even if he has a great season, I'm still worried. Like, okay, did you just play this good because you wanted that contract? So
fair. That's fair.
It's a guy that I feel like even if he has a pretty good season, I can replace that pretty easily next year.
I hear you. Let's go from talented defensive end who hasn't fulfilled his potential to talented defensive tackle who hasn't necessarily done it either, and that's Jordan Elliott. He's an interesting player. He does make some serious money. He makes 3 times more than Evan Anderson, who's a younger player with probably better upside. But there's also some real talent there in Jordan Elliott. I mean, he's 6'10", he's 6'5", he's 310, he's strong as heck, very quick. He's got a lot of talent. Now, at times I thought he showed some good things last year. So No way I'm extending him. I'll put him in the Yatir Gross-Matos candidacy. There's no way I'm extending him now, but I'm open-minded. If he comes out and in the Niners wide 9 has some awesome year, I'll consider extending him in December to keep him off the market, but I want to see it first. I'm not extending him now. No way. But possibly with a monster year, if he does have a decent year, that's a guy I would consider extending, as I said, in December.
Yeah, I feel the same on him. I'm not like overly like hyped about him, but he played good enough last year in stretches where I'm like, okay, we need a veteran defensive lineman, because right now we got CJ West, who we're all excited about, right? But how's he going to translate to the end? We haven't even seen him play it down yet, but we are excited about him. If he reaches his potential, it's like, okay, he's your starter. And then you got Alfred Collins, who we're excited about, but he's coming in with some injuries. So already, you need depth. I know we got Evan Anderson, but defensive line, especially in that interior side, you really need to make sure you have those trenches fortified with depth. So, yeah, if he has a pretty good season, I wouldn't mind keeping him around, because you need depth. Kevin Givens, all these guys, you need to make sure that you have guys to plug and play. If someone goes down, you roll an ankle, you're sore, you got some hip strains here and there with that type of position. I wouldn't hate to bring him back, but I'm not going to extend him now. Wait and see, because, again, you got to see if these rookies are going to really do something. If these rookies kind of look sketchy this year, then you're like, shit, we really need to make sure we have a guy that can come in and continue to plug those gaps. So he's kind of a wait and see for me as well.
Spencer Burford, 4th-round pick in 2022. They moved him from guard to tackle this year. He's going to play tackle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to make $3.5 million this year. I like talking to him, and I think he's an interesting prospect. He's smart. He's got long arms. He's got the right body type for the game. But it just hasn't happened at guard. And it's almost like he's regressed from his rookie year to where he's been at the last couple of years. But we'll see. I mean, I definitely would not extend him right now, but I absolutely would extend him if he has this bust out 2025, and he shows that he can play offensive tackle. If he proves that he can play offensive tackle, I would sign him in December and keep him off the market at a reasonable price. But I don't expect that to happen. I expect him to be too slow-footed to play offensive tackle at a high level, and so I'm not extending him.
Yeah, it's interesting because I really like this guy. I've talked to him extensively. I mean,
good dude.
Interviewed him many years ago when he first came in. I really like Spencer. He's a cool dude, but his game hasn't really translated, and after that rookie season, he's kind of fell down. We remember the blunder in the Super Bowl. I think that's mentally been sticking with him. Like, he's trying to prove himself. But he's a guy where, okay, Colton McKivitz is the guy that I said I don't want to extend. But if Spencer Burford can translate to tackle, then that's a more reason for me to say, Colton, hit the bricks. Spencer Burford's taking your spot at tackle. That's the ideal situation that I hope happens. Or maybe he can at least be good enough to be your swing tackle, because last year, Jalen Moore was a very good swing tackle. He parlayed that to a massive contract with the Chiefs. Massive. Now he's a starter, right? So that's kind of what I'm hoping for Spencer Burford. Maybe you can parlay that to at least swing tackle. Show us some damn skills at tackles. Again, he has a big opportunity with Colton McKivitz, potentially on the way out. Who knows? So I'm going to wait and see on him. But I'm kind of like you. I'm not too optimistic because I don't know if he's going to be able to translate, because they played him at guard. And now you've wasted a couple of years of development, and now you're going to throw him at tackle. And he's got to kind of figure that out in the NFL. It's not easy just to change positions. I know he played tackle before. It's a whole different situation than the NFL. So I'll be kind of wait and see on him too. But I would love to see him bust out at tackle so I could transition him and at least be a good swing tackle.
Guys get better. I mean, Jalen Moore got better. Now he's making $30 million over, was it a 2-year, $30 million deal, or was it 1 year? Yeah, 15 a year. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Sam Aquinu, there was not a great D-line year last year, but Aquinu was good. He had 3 sacks in spot duty. He's way stronger than you think. He's 6'1" and change, 270, 275, but he's got really long arms and great strength at the point. He's a very strong player against the run, and he's actually puts a little heat on the quarterback. There's some quick twitch to Aquinu. That was a great acquisition a couple years ago, also in December. I can't really offer him any kind of big money extension, but if he would be willing, this is a guy who has had a hard time just locking on to a team, right? If I could get him to commit to me for 2 years, give him a slight raise. I would do it. I think his work ethic's great. This is a guy that I wouldn't do it for any kind of real money. I would only do it if I could just get him committed for a really low dollar figure, because I like his professionalism. I like the way he goes about his business. I think this is a very underrated player. He's strong against the run and the pass. As I said, I wouldn't pay him big money at all. I wouldn't even approach any even mediocre money. I wouldn't even pay him starter money. But he's made nothing. And if he's willing to sign a 2-year deal for a real, 49er friendly type deal, this is a guy that I would actually give that to.
Yeah, I love Samo. He's kind of one of those late bloomers. He didn't start playing till later in his life. Kind of picked the game up a little bit late, and he was one of those guys that not a lot of people knew about him, and Niners took him, and they kind of made him a project, and he's starting to hit that stride, his peak. And, reminds me of kind of like his skill set, like Samson Ebukam, Charles Menahu type guy, where he could kind of be that tweener. I really like him. I would hope to keep him at the end of the season. I'd offer him at the end of the season, but if he has a really, pretty solid season where he gets 5 to 6, maybe even 7 sacks, kind of a breakout season, he might play himself out of our price range. But
right,
I would hope he doesn't. But he's one of those guys. I feel like he's that underrated guy this year that might get a lot of cleanup sacks because he's just going to be around the area. He's strengthened up. Like, you've seen him working out this offseason. He looks like jacked, man.
He looks great.
So I do like this guy. And again, depth is key. I feel like you keep him around for 2 more years, you get the max of his potential. Then after that, he can earn another contract somewhere else. So hopefully that's what happens with Samo. I definitely would keep him at the end of the season. But again, he might have the season where he plays himself out of our price range. Because, I'm not giving him like crazy $10 million a year. If he gets that somewhere, good for you. Go take that bag, my guy. Yeah.
God bless you. God bless you.
Yeah.
Good luck to your family.
We're on the same page on that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great dude, but he's really, I would say Sam Aquinu is one of the 49ers most underrated players. There's guys walking around, there's men and women walking around saying, "Hey man, I'm a hardcore Niner fan," that don't know anything about Sam Aquinu. but he's really good. A couple more and then we'll switch topics here. Kevin Givens. What do you think? Undrafted free agent from the Niners. He entered the league in 2019. He's now 28. To me, after I saw him loafing in the NFC title game next to Chase Young, there's no guaranteed money coming his way. Not in my world.
Yeah, I'm done with him. We've extended him several times over the last couple of years. I think he's gotten enough extensions. Yeah, he's decent depth.
He's all right.
He's a guy that I think we can upgrade from. I feel like they've extended him enough after the season. I don't want him back in the Niners. That's it. I don't hate him. I think he's decent depth, but I don't think he's ever going to get better than what he's given us. So at this point,
he's an undersized one-gap penetrator who fits our system. But what happens is if we fall behind, he's totally useless because he's not good against the run. And so if you fall behind in games and you need to stop the run and get teams into – you can no longer play him in that rotation because he gets upfield, and he can put a little heat on the quarterback from inside, but he's like far better when you're leading than he is when you're trailing.
Yeah, and Niners usually aren't leading, so get him off my team.
Yeah, there you go. All right, 2 more if we look ahead to 2027. Trent Williams and D. Winters. Would you extend Trent Williams or D. Winters? I kind of think I don't think I would. I don't think I would extend either of those guys. I'm not big on extensions. For the most part, I would do as few of them as possible. But I want to see D. Winters play a full year, beat out Nick Martin, make a bunch of tackles, stay healthy, show that he is not just quick, but that he's damn good. Like right now, I think he's quick, but I don't know how good he is. I don't know how dependable he is against the run or the pass. So Winters, I think this is a huge make it or break it type year for him. And Trent, you know what? The Niners have paid Trent so much money that they don't have to extend him ahead of time. They can play. He ain't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. There's enough trust there between him and Shanahan where you don't have to do a preemptive strike with Trent. You can be honest with him. He can be honest with you. I would not extend either guy for different reasons. Trent, just because I want to play it out. I want to give myself as much time and him as much time to make the right decision for him. And then for D, I just haven't seen enough. I like D Winters, but I don't believe in D Winters on a level that says, he is going to be. No, I don't know what he's going to be. He's athletic. That's what he is.
Yeah, I've been the biggest D Winters truther of all of them, man, since he came. I've been hoping, but he just can't stay healthy. I love his talent, but we don't really know if he can be a top flight linebacker next to Fred Warner. Like, that's what we hope. But they also said, shit, we got to draft another guy just in case. They drafted Nick Martin, who could, if he parlays this training camp, he might take that linebacker 2 spot over D Winters. So then what the hell happens to D Winters? I would wait till the end of the season. If he has a decent year, you keep him as that depth guy. But the Niners, if there's any position where they could probably develop and you're not really too worried, it's linebacker. But I know they lost Greenlaw, so we're hoping that Nick Martin can take that leap and be that guy. But honestly, D Winters, man, you haven't done anything to prove that we owe you an extension, because he really, again, has been dealing with injury. Just like Yetur Grossmetz, I didn't see him much on the field last year. And you're worthless to me if you're sitting on the bench. And I hate to say it, but he's been sitting on the bench a lot. And Trent Williams, I love you. We've extended you so many times. We've given you a lot of money. Let's let it play out. Let's see what happens. And, I'm not giving him any more money. I love him.
I think we're in total agreement. Before we switch topics, let me just hit a couple ads here. We are brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. He's got 3 down in Southern Cal. He's got spots in Fresno, Modesto. He's got a brand new location opening at Capitola Mall later on this summer, as well as Visalia Mall down in the Central Valley. Great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades. And thanks to Claw Daddy for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Also, thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less, whether you're interested in IT, cybersecurity, marketing. Could be any high-demand field. They have 30 certification programs, actually more than that help you take that next step in your career. They've been in business for almost 4 decades. They've helped over 200,000 students. So check them out. Over 100 graduates of the program are placed in good jobs each and every month, thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. We should tell you, if you're watching us live on YouTube, do us a favor, smash the like button, hit subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell and have it turned on so you never miss a show. And remember, once the live stream wraps up, you can catch the full replay anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform is. Just search The Krueg Show and you'll find us. But we got a lot to get to today, so let's jump right back into it. Couple thoughts. I did a video today, and I'm going to do, it's part of a series of videos I'm doing. And, I used to work in the pro personnel department with the Cardinals, right? Pro personnel was my thing. So I watched a lot of preseason. I watched a lot of training camp. I watched, I bird dogged in almost every stadium on the western half of the country looking for guys who were going to be free agents at the end of the year for the Cardinals. And it gave me some insight, Raj, into what the pro personnel guys do right now. Like right now, the coaches are, they're off with their families, partying, doing whatever. This is their only time to get away. The players, for the most part, are training either on their own or in groups. They're getting ready for the competition of their life. They're getting ready to earn a roster spot. So they're really, really competing. Yeah. The scouts, for the most part, are taking a break with the coaches. The college scouts, because they're getting ready to, starting in September, just be really, really inundated and busy. But the pro personnel guys, this is an interesting time of year because you typically want to go and do that exercise of who do we have on our roster? Where's our needy spots? Who's, if we need a defensive end, who's got a deep roster of defensive ends? If we need a wide receiver, who's got the deep wide receiver core that they're going to cut somebody good? And all the best pro personnel guys will have, before even the day one of training camp, they'll have a real good idea that if they're short at any spot on their roster, what team or teams around the league could help them at the cut down fill their needs. So I decided I was going to do this for wide receiver, defensive end and corner. I haven't done defensive end or corner yet, so I did wide receiver. So basically what I did was I just went through every team in pro football, and I looked at their wide receiver core. So I'm looking at the Niner wide receivers. This is what they have right now. Ayuk, but he's not going to be there until November, most likely. Jennings, but he's had some injuries. Pearsall, the same. Cowing, hopefully year 2 will be better than year 1. Demarcus Robinson from the Rams, but he's going to miss the first 3 games. And then Jordan Watkins. So those, I would say, Ayuk, Jennings, Pearsall, Cowing, Watkins, and Robinson. Those are your 6 receivers. But week 1, you're not going to have Robinson and you're not going to have Ayuk, so you're going to have 4. So then you have, Junior Bergen, Isaiah Nair, Isaiah Hodgins, all, Tariq Owens, all competing for maybe one spot to start camp. So I went and I decided to look around at who's got the deepest wide receiver core and who are the best wide receivers that potentially could be out there. And what I found was there's 3 teams that really are deep at wide receiver. And I'm going to show you them one at a time here. One is Green Bay. Okay. Green Bay's got a ton of receivers. So here's Green Bay's receivers. Here's their depth chart. So they have Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, 1, 2, 3. They have Savion Williams. They just drafted in the 3rd round. He's going to make the team. That's 4. Christian Watson's hurt, but he's going to be on the team if he's not out for the year. So I think he might be out for the year. So he doesn't count. So they have those 3 and Williams. That's 4. Dontavian Wicks makes 5. Then they also signed McCole Hardman away from Kansas City. He would be wide receiver 6. And then you still have Bo Melton. And they've been playing Bo Melton, who's a really good special teamer, as a corner a little bit in the spring, just because they're looking for versatility from that final wide receiver spot. I'm just saying, if the Niners need a wide receiver, Green Bay, I'm not saying Green Bay is going to give them one, but Green Bay may cut Bo Melton. So just look for that. Just one team there.
Okay.
Another team that I think is really interesting to watch for is the Jets. We talked about this before. But Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith, Malachi Corley, Xavier Gibson, and then they also have Jamal Pritchett. That's 8 receivers. They're probably going to wind up keeping 5. So they're going to cut a few of the guys there. And they really like Arian Smith from what I've been told. They love Josh Reynolds. So there's a chance Malachi Corley or maybe even Xavier Gibson, one of those 2 guys could wind up getting cut. So the Jets are a team to watch. And the 3rd team to watch is Kansas City. And this Kansas City is so loaded. Brett Veach is a great GM. Here's their depth chart at wide receiver. They go Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice. It's pretty good. Wow. 1, 2, 3. Then they drafted Jalen Royals out of Utah State in the 4th round. He's going to make the team for sure. They have Juju Smith-Schuster as a veteran. He's probably going to make it as well. That's 5. Sky Moore probably gets cut if he doesn't show something. But, that's 5 receivers right there. That might be all of their receivers. But they also have Sky Moore. They have Justin Ross. They have Tyquan Thornton. But over here, they've got this receiver, Elijah Badger. And this is the guy that I really want if the Niners to get. I think that this guy is going to look really good. He's a Sacramento kid. He's from South Sac. He went to Folsom High School. He started off at ASU, transferred to Florida, kind of did the Ricky Pearsall thing. He probably knows Ricky Pearsall. But yeah, he ran 4.43, 35.5-inch vertical, but he's a natural wide receiver with great run after the catch ability, 6'1", 200 pounds. The Chiefs are going to try to slide Elijah Badger onto their practice squad. And that's the guy to grab. So those are the 3 receivers that I'm looking for at the cut down. Bo Melton, Elijah Badger, or Malachi Corley. But there's a couple others that I think I want to mention to you as well. Just looking at other rosters that have some local ties that might be, if the Niners need a receiver, might actually fit. Atlanta has Nick Nash from San Jose State.
Oh, I love Nick Nash, yeah.
He may not make the roster. He would be a great get.
Be fun.
Chargers may cut Jerry's kid, Brendan Rice.
Oh, there you go. Niner fans will eat that one up.
I love the idea of Brendan Rice or Nick Nash on the Niners. New England I would say is probably better than 50-50 to cut Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne, yeah. I could see him reuniting with the team.
He would fit. He would fit. And the other guy who makes a lot of sense, Buffalo signed Laviska Shenault, but Shenault had that 97-yard kickoff return against the Niners in Seattle.
Yeah.
He's a kickoff returner. He's built like a running back. He's also plays receiver. In a lot of ways, he could do some of the things that Debo does.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is I've done the deep dive on the wide receivers, and if the Niners at the cutdown need a receiver, Green Bay may cut Bo Melton. Kansas City may try to slide Elijah Badger onto their practice squad. Malachi Corley may get cut by the Jets. And then there's Laviska Shenault, Brendan Rice, Nick Nash, and Kendrick Bourne all out there with, Bay Area ties. So some interesting names there for sure. The other thing I wanted to mention to you and get your thoughts on is the Steelers trade sent Jalen Ramsey to the Steelers, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, went to Miami. And Jonnu Smith was in that deal, right? Jonnu Smith is now going to the Steelers. Well, there's a lot of talk this morning that the Steelers may turn around and trade Darnell Washington. I bring this up because how do you feel about the tight end room? You got Kittle, who's a great two-way player, right? He's a blocker and he's a receiver. Farrell is really a one-way player. He's more of a blocker. The rest of the guys that they have are one-way players as well, and they're only receivers. Washington is 6'7", 265 pounds. He's a huge man. He's a great blocker. What do you think of a day 3 pick to the Steelers for Darnell Washington? And instead of having Kittle and Farrell and just kind of an underpowered Tongus or Pline or Dwelly or, you know what I mean? Somebody who's just a receiver, not really a blocker. What do you think about having 3 tight ends on the roster that can all block so that you could use Kittle more as a receiver? What do you think of Darnell Washington?
It's pretty young too. If I think
26.
26, yeah, it's pretty good. So, that's one of those positions the Niners have been searching for another tight end. They've been striking out. So would I hate it? No. A late 3 pick or 4th round pick, wouldn't hate it. But I feel like the Niners do have some pretty decent blocking tight ends there. And again, I think it would help if they can use it to unleash Kittle. We just talked about all those wide receivers. If you're going to have a receiver issue, you're going to need to deploy George Kittle a lot more. So actually, I wouldn't hate it. To get him, I don't think it's going to cost a lot. So yeah, I wouldn't hate that move because you would definitely upgrade this tight end room, which after, your first 2 tight ends, there's a lot of question marks. Like they've been drafting tight ends for the last couple of years and they just haven't panned out for whatever reason. They've been crap tight ends. So honestly, to upgrade this tight end room and give Kittle a little bit more, assistance out there so he can go out there and be, a top end tight end, which he already is. His efficiency is insane. Like if you look at his stats last year, he was pretty much up there with the McBrides of the world, and he had so much less catches. Now, if you can give him 15 more targets, 20 more catches, something like that, can you imagine what Kittle's going to do if you have a little bit more usage of him? And also, we're going to need it because, like you said, Brandon Ayuk's going to be out for a while. We don't know if Jacob Cowing is going to be this, breakout guy. What's going to be, happening with Ricky Pearsall this year? He's already got the hamstring issue. We all expect Jawan Jennings to be a top guy, but he's going to get more double teams now. So honestly, I actually wouldn't hate that move, Larry.
I like the idea of having the ability to, blow people off the line of scrimmage a little bit, run the ball, because if you said to me, let's just say there was an injury for Brock Purdy, would be nice if the 49ers could just come out and just run the heck out of it. Yeah. They've got, 3 or 4 really good running backs. I think it's a better run blocking offensive line than a pass blocking offensive line. I would love to see the Niners, come out and just, do what Harbaugh used to do and just, run at somebody. And if you have success, stay with it. Sometimes I feel like Shanahan could stay with the run, but wants to, be balanced all the time. And it's like, hey, if you're running it and they can't stop it, just stay with the run. Two last ones before we get out of here. John Chapman put this one on Twitter. Who is the best 49er quarterback of the following? Brock Purdy, Jimmy G, Colin Kaepernick, Jeff Garcia. Purdy's at 67%. He won. Garcia finished second, Kaepernick third, and Jimmy G fourth. I went and looked at all the numbers on these, and I think that I think Niner fans are smart. I think Niner fans have this right. I think Purdy is the best of these guys. I think Garcia is the second best. I think Kaepernick is the third best, and I think Garoppolo is the fourth best. But I do find it interesting that Jimmy G, Jimmy G's 4-2 in the playoffs. What's Brock? 4-2 in the playoffs. What was Kaepernick? 4-2 in the playoffs. I think Jimmy G might be a little too low. I think people have had that recency bias watching him at the Raiders and just thinking he's just god awful. But I think Purdy, Garcia, Kaepernick, and Jimmy G, I think the order is right when you look at those percentages. Joe's obviously the best. Steve's obviously second best. I would probably say Y.A. Tittle, even though he did a lot of his damage with the New York Giants. He's a Hall of Famer. So I would say he's third. And then I would put Brock Purdy fourth. I'd put Brock Purdy in front of Brody, even though Brody was an MVP in 1970 and led the league in passing 3 times. But Brody threw a lot of picks, 224 picks. It's a lot of picks. I would say Purdy is the best Niner quarterback of our lifetime after Joe and Steve. I'd put him over Garcia. I love Garcia. I scouted Garcia in, early 90s, mid-90s for Calgary when he was backing up Doug Flutie as the third-string quarterback. But I got great appreciation for Garcia, but Garcia's yards per attempt is like 6 point something, and Purdy's is like almost 9. So I just think that Garcia was kind of a check-down merchant. Kaepernick was amazing talent, but he never really learned how to read coverage, didn't make the anticipatory throws. But I think the story here, looking at these numbers, is Jimmy G's way too low. I mean,
no, that's totally right.
He should be last on this list. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. But 1.1% to 12.4%. Jimmy G did a lot of winning, man. He did. They won a lot. I don't know. How would you rank Purdy, Jimmy, Kaepernick, and Garcia?
I mean, first off, the 1.1, it's kind of crazy. Jimmy G getting 1%. But the Niner fans hate that, man. And he talked a little bad after he left. Jimmy gets no respect at this point. Like, you know what? That's fairly rated 1.1. Jimmy G, he was carried by a lot on this team. We remember the Minnesota Vikings game. Man, there's a point where Kyle's like, all right, fuck it. You ain't throwing any 8 attempts. We're just feeding Raheem and the rest of this team. Honestly, man, y'all are underrated Jeff Garcia. I love Brock Purdy. I'm going to disagree with you here. I think Jeff Garcia is our third best quarterback after Steve Young and Joe Montana, Steve Young. Put some respect on Jeff Garcia. Before Brock Purdy, nobody was even making the damn Pro Bowl. Like Kaepernick.
Okay, but here I'll give you Garcia's numbers. Here's Garcia's numbers. 120, 100. Tell me if you after you hear the numbers if you change.
I know his numbers. Go ahead.
Okay, 125 games. Guess what he was as a starting quarterback in the NFL?
He was like 500.
He was exactly 500. Yeah. He was 500. He was 58 and 58. But he did, to your credit, make 3 Pro Bowls.
He did. He was
3 Pro Bowls.
He was without Jeff Garcia. When they left, okay, what happened to the Niners after that whole Mariucci left, Jeff Garcia left, team was bottom feeders for fucking decade. Larry
Rick Meyer, Druckenmiller.
Jeff Garcia, they were searching for a quarterback for Kaepernick, all those guys. They were searching for quarterback for the disrespect on Jeff Garcia is crazy. And I think a lot of it's recency bias. A lot of these Niner young fans, I'm a little low. A lot of these
he wasn't on great teams. Football's a team sport, and he wasn't on great teams. But he played in 6 playoff games. He went 2-4 in the playoffs, 7 touchdowns, 7 picks. The reason I would have Purdy over him, I mean, first of all, Purdy is 23 and 13, so it's a very small sample size, right? Very small, only 40 games. Where Garcia played 125 games, so we had a much bigger sample size. But Purdy has a higher completion percentage, 64 touchdowns, 27 picks. Garcia had 161 touchdowns and 83 picks, so that's not bad. But 2-4 in the playoffs for Garcia, 4-2 in the playoffs for Purdy. To me, where Purdy is above these guys is what he did in the playoffs. He's 4-2 in the playoffs with 6 touchdowns and 1 interception, where Garcia was 7 touchdowns, 7 picks. Kaepernick was 4-2 in the playoffs, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. Garoppolo was 4-2 in the playoffs, 4 touchdowns, 6 picks. But it's interesting. In a lot of ways, I mean, Garoppolo has got 4-2 in the playoffs and 1 Super Bowl berth. Kaepernick, 4-2 in the playoffs, 1 Super Bowl berth. Garcia, 2-4 in the playoffs, no Super Bowl berths. Brock Purdy, 4-2 in the playoffs, 1 Super Bowl berth. So, and all 3, Purdy, Kaepernick, and Garoppolo, as Niner fans all know too well, lost their respective Super Bowl. I would say that Purdy played better than Cap or Garoppolo in the Super Bowl. I would say.
I agree. I'm just saying, I feel like it's different teams like that. The whole Jeff Garcia era, that team was way different than what it is now, but era was different. I don't know, man, because the thing when Jeff Garcia took over, it was sudden because, okay, Steve Young goes down. The man was, Hall of Famer, concussions, and it was like they threw Jeff Garcia and nobody really knew who he was. So he kind of had to prove himself just like Brock Purdy, but he elevated this team. But there was also some tension between him and T.O. Remember, smells like a rat, must be a rat. Remember, there was a lot of different things going on. I don't know, man. I'm a Jeff Garcia guy. I gotta. If Brock Purdy,
there's nothing wrong with being a Jeff Garcia guy.
If Brock Purdy goes crazy this year and has that like just elite season, yeah, he's gonna be better. He'll pass him this year. But right now, as of right now, Jeff Garcia over Brock Purdy.
49er red zone. Cap should have a ring. I was there, and that's going to lead us into the final question I have for you. What's the worst Niner game you've ever watched? Worst Niner game you've ever watched. This was a topic on some either 49er Web Zone or Niner Nation. Somebody had this the other day. And I'll say this. Yeah. I got a couple of them, right? I got a couple of them. But considering everything, it has to be Super Bowl 47. First and goal from the 5. Frank Gore never touches the ball. Mykel James does. Kaepernick doesn't run the ball. Gore doesn't run the ball. You don't run the ball against a team that was totally gassed and tired, and you're calling timeouts coming out of 2-minute warnings. I mean, Jim Harbaugh gagged. You cannot call a timeout after a 2-minute warning when you have old man Ray Lewis, old man Ed Reed, old man Bernard Pollard. I was on the binoculars. I was sitting on the 10-yard line on the other side of the field. I'm on the binoculars looking at this thing, and I'm like, they are dog tired. I'm sitting next to Damon Bruce. When they called a timeout coming out of the 2-minute warning, I yelled, "Fuck! What are you doing?" And I'm just screaming. I'm like, you're giving this old, tired Ravens team a chance to cinch up their belt, dry off their face, and load up for a couple plays. You moron. Absolute moron. So when I think of Jim Harbaugh, I think of he blew that Super Bowl in the worst way. I went back and watched it again. The announcers on the final drive, like Gore runs for like 20 yards. Then Kaepernick runs for like 18 yards. Then Gore runs for like 38 yards. And the announcers go, this Ravens team really looks tired, Bob. Whatever. This Ravens defense really looks tired. They were not coming off blocks. They were absolutely gassed. The Niners were, after the power outage, were running them off the field in New Orleans, and they were old and tired and done. And Harbaugh called a timeout coming out of, and then throw fades with a quarterback who can't throw fades. When you could have ran your quarterback, you could have ran Frank Gore. I mean, Harbaugh, just absolutely gagged. To me, the 40-8 loss to the Eagles in 1994 with Charlie Garner, terrible loss. The Eagles NFC title game loss where Brock was knocked out 6 plays in, that was a terrible loss because I knew they were done as soon as Brock was done, and we had the rest of the game to watch. But if I had to say the worst game in Niner history, obviously the Roger Craig fumble in 90 against the New York Giants, Niners going for a potential three-peat. Pat Summerall said as soon as the Giants won that game, He didn't say the Giants are going to the Super Bowl. You know what he said? There
Niners
will
lost.
be no three-peat.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was bitter. That was like a knife.
Yeah, it was a knife in the
knife, and somebody's turning that knife on you. There will be no three-peat.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, but to me, Super Bowl 47 is, and also the 92 loss to the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game at Candlestick on the Alvin Harper slant that we took off at the end there to ice the game. I would say that was a really tough loss, but Super Bowl 47, I'd have to say, is the worst Niner game of all time.
Yeah, that
if
was
I
rough.
say what game stands out to you?
Those were all bad. Like the 47 definitely is top 3 for me. All they had to do was run the goddamn.
Were you there, by the way? Were you there?
I wasn't
in New Orleans?
there. I'm glad. I would have crashed out if I was there. No, but the one that I was at was Vegas Super Bowl. So to me, that's the worst because I was there. Literally saw it overtime, lose the damn Super Bowl. You didn't know the overtime rules, Kyle, and Kyle used to check. Like that game was maddening, and I'm walking out the stadium after spending like $10K for the weekend Super Bowl ticket. Like that game was maddening because we should have won that Super Bowl. Brock Purdy outplayed Patrick Mahomes for most of that game. Overtime comes, you gave them an extra chip. That to me was probably the worst one I saw. Definitely you can make the argument for 47 because all you had to do was run the damn ball, and they couldn't stop the run. But losing in the overtime, like there hadn't been overtime in Super Bowl in long. I couldn't even tell you when the last time it was overtime.
And walking off the field twice with the lead.
Yeah, with the lead, you mean to tell me you can beat these guys and you had to go to overtime?
One stop. Wasn't there multiple fourth down conversions on the final Chiefs drive?
I mean, just so much nonsense at the end. Chris Jones, that game was infuriating. That was definitely probably the worst one, but there's been some other ones. NFC Championship, you said against the Eagles. NFC Championship against the Rams. Jaquiski Tart. You lose the interception in the what are you doing? I was at that game. Oh my God. You want to talk about crash out, Larry? That game disgusted me. The Niners had that game. You want to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah, that was Jimmy Garoppolo. Blind man throwing the ball at the end, getting crushed. And then to make it worse, you had Jimmy Ward trying to beat up OBJ. That wasn't the time to do it. You had earlier regular season games. They played so stupid in that game. They blew that game away. You had owned the Rams. That was a bad one. Couple other ones. I remember, I guess it was
how about Kyle Williams?
Yeah, I was getting there.
Kyle Williams, 3 fucking fumbles in one game
against the Giants. Kyle Williams, the moment they said Ted Ginn wasn't playing, I was like, we might be scary. Kyle Williams, that man can't even go online. He can't even say that man pissed the whole Niner fan base. You ask most fans, that's definitely the worst Niner game for them. And that was definitely going to be one of them. Another one when I was younger.
He might be the ultimate GOAT in Niner history. He might be the ultimate. There's the GOAT, you're the greatest, but then there's the GOAT, you're wearing the GOAT horns. He might be the biggest GOAT in Niner history for that game.
It was bad. And then I remember Atlanta Falcons, Garrison Hurst breaks his leg. If the Niners win that game.
The Dirty Birds.
Dirty Birds, because the Dirty Birds went on to the playoffs.
Lose to Denver.
They lost. Niners would have won that Super Bowl that year. And Garrison Hurst breaking his leg was tough. They lost a lot of games to the Packers, but there was one, I think it was like 94, the year before.
Craig 94. Yeah, the one in the slop with Desmond Howard.
Yeah,
that was ridiculous. I was thinking of the Craig Newsome fumble recovery. Adam Walker fumbled in the Niners territory, and Craig Newsome ran it back early in that game. That was crushing.
And then, of course,
there's been a lot of bad ones.
Lost with Jimmy Garoppolo. Missing, Emmanuel Sanders wide open. What are you doing?
I'll give you one more for old school Niner fans. The 83 NFC title game. The Niners fell into a hole, down 3 touchdowns behind Theismann in the Skins, and the Niners just gave the Redskins way too much respect. And in the second half, they said, screw you and your respect, and they were coming back, and they were going to win that game, and the refs took it from them. It felt like a high school gym. It was awful. And that was the motivation that the Niners in 84 needed to go 15-1. They got the 83 NFC title game was stolen from the 49ers. And that was tough to watch. That was tough to watch. All right, let's hit a couple supers and then we'll bolt for the door. 49er First Take says, Raj and Larry together is the vibes I need right now. Training camp can't come soon enough. Killing it as always, fellas. Thank you. Thank you, 49er First Takes. Joseph Ernberg in the house says, Brock Purdy will be greater than Joe Montana at the end of his career. Ernberg, out. I'm Ernberg, and I'm out. Thank you, Joseph. Frank Tom Ocean reminds me of Billy Ocean. You know, what was his thing? What was his song? Caribbean Queen.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. I remember that.
Billy Ocean. All right. Member for 16 months. Always a little clap there. He says, LK Raj, just got back from Cabo. Back to work. I'm ready for the football season. I hope you're both well. Go Niners. Thank you, Frank. Raj, I've been a lot of places. I've never been to Cabo.
Never been to Cabo? I was young.
Never been to Cabo.
What go to Cabo, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, what am I missing? I mean, where does Cabo sit on your vacation destinations?
I mean, I was young, so I mean, I can't it's been a minute, but beaches are beautiful. I remember that.
It's on the edge of what? The Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez or whatever. Isn't it like
top 10 up
right
there? I wish I'd go back when I was older. I mean, my favorite place is Hawaii. I've been to Barcelona and Spain. That's
where in Hawaii? What island?
I've been to Waikiki. I've been to Honolulu.
Have you been to Maui?
Yeah, I've been to Maui. Like the three.
You've been to the Big Island?
I've been to, yeah.
The Big Island, we stayed at the Westin Hapuna Beach when KMBR went a few years ago, and man, I don't know that I've ever seen a better beach than the Westin Hapuna Beach.
Like anywhere I went in Hawaii that I've been, it's like amazing. Thailand was another good spot I've been to.
Really? Yeah. We got to talk more about that. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades and LearnKey Upskill Academy. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all of you. Raj, training camp will be here before long. Hope you're starting to feel better. We'll do this again in a week. And, man, I can't wait. I can't wait till training camp. We'll be out there sweating, watching Niner football, and there's just something – I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, you're big on training camp. Somebody said, a buddy of mine said, hey, man, I know you're big on training camp. And I said, well, I do. I go to every training camp practice. I don't know if I'm big on training camp, but I said, training camp is freaking great. And he's like, why? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. That's a good question. I'll throw it to Raj. Raj, what makes training camp so damn good? Because it really is good.
It's the vibe. Okay, so the vibes are just fun, and like football is approaching, and just being there, it's like, okay, the off season is pretty. It's done. Like now, we're switching our mind into football mode, and just being there, seeing the players, getting all the news. Like this is the new season. You get to see what this team is doing in order to make sure that they're ready for the year. You get to see the younger guys, the older guys, kind of all the cool stories evolving. The coaches are all there. So everything that's kind of went on the offseason, it's all finally coming together, and just getting to see it kind of all take place. It's just fun, man. And after those 2 weeks of training camp, man, it's the season, baby. And the rosters are getting it's competition. It's not like mini camp where they go, they're just going through motions or make sure their body's ready. No, these guys got to play to make the damn team. They're competing against each other. If you're not cutting it in training camp, your ass is getting cut, baby. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's on. I mean, it's on. It's not, you go to spring training and it's like you go into the clubhouse and everybody's like big kumbaya, and it's just, they're going to play a baseball game, then they're going to go play golf. And then, in 6 weeks, they're going to pare the roster down. In the NFL, it's like, it's me or him. You know what I mean? At every spot, it's that guy or that guy. It's this lineman or that lineman. I mean, you're really competing head to head. And also, it also kind of has that spring training vibe where, there's hope. Sports is about hope. Every team's got hope in training camp. Hope that you'll stay healthy. Hope you'll have a big year. What I love about the NFL is that teams do go from worst to first. And so you can be the worst team last year and win 6 games or whatever and turn it around and win 13 games the next year. So to me, it's the intensity, the battle for the jobs, and the hope all
Yeah.
together is just, it's awesome. It's just great.
Yeah,
And then the heat. Also, it's also like who can handle it? Who can handle day after day after day of all the heat, the sweat, and I've seen people come to camp and they'll cover it really well for like day or 2 days, but that third day they're like, I gotta blah 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 blah. It's like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? You're sunburned, you're tired, you got a headache, and you've already got your fill of it, and now you're done. It's like there's something to be said for making it through training camp,
it's
even
a grind.
as a media.
It's a grind.
It's a grind.
Just to be there to
It's a
cover it.
grind.
Like honestly, I know I've been dealing with some medical stuff, so like I hope I can make it through it this year. I know I will, but I can stay hydrated. But honestly, like you said, all those things you said are great. To me, it's the competition because these, like you said, it's one guy versus the other guy for one job. You're either going to be flipping burgers or you can be making millions with the team. So it's a dog eat dog. Like this is it, man. You want to be playing football for a couple years to make millions, or are you going to be working at Radio Shack or something? Well, Radio Shack doesn't exist, but you know what I mean.
I loved Radio Shack.
It was a good place.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks to everybody. 49er Red Zone says it best. Niners, baby.
Yeah, never met a man